Well, good afternoon, School of Tomorrow students. My goal in this video is to create a project space, like a maker space. There's a hands-on version, there's a welding version. I've talked about the 3D printed version. Today, it's going to be more the cyber version because as you've seen in recent videos, I've been moving from talking about almost exclusively Jupyter notebooks and sometimes jumping into Spider and sometimes generally staying within, though, the Python ecosystem quite a bit. And today, in breaking out of that, I do feel I'm moving into new ground, but it's still pretty computer oriented. Now, for continuity, I'm going to go to CodePen and just show you the very primitive, hardly worth mentioning work that I've done. And the only reason I think this is promising for you is because it's a niche now. Like, look, I've got the first 3 concentric hierarchy on YouTube. First 4, okay, that's Lou Scholl. I know this guy. Okay, but pretty much the top 5 are, either me or people I know. And I'm not saying that concentric hierarchy is the only meme term that we're going to use. By the way, this could be a spooky ball episode. But right now, with people really needing some good futurism and with this area available to you, I'm saying greenfield development, but I'm saying don't stick with just this sort of primitive level JavaScript that I've done, where I've got the concentric hierarchy just painted in. I don't even compute the volumes. I don't even use my tetra volume formula, and by mine I mean the one I always use. Gerald de Jong taught it to me, right? Came up with it on a train. He's not sure where it came from, really. It just kind of came up, It's kind of like with Ramanujan sometimes. So how do you prove it and so on? Well, we've been using it a lot. And what do I see here? I see a lot of really intensive HTML going on and some CSS. I don't even see any JavaScript. So is this at all interesting, right? I'm saying it's interesting because it's about the concentric hierarchy, which is a set of nested polyhedrons. Trying to get to change view here, and for some reason it's just going to white out on me here. I'll come back to you. There we are. So these are the volumes I'm talking about. Again, this is not really beautiful to look at. I'm not showing it to you because of its super high aesthetic value, but do come here if you like, check out the volumes that we want to express, and then use your imagination and take it to the next level in one of these deeper frameworks, such as React. And how do you embed, and can you, an HTML canvas in React? Would you want to do that? Maybe you just want to focus on a back end, but maybe in a single page application. So by back end, we just mean your local storage, right? Maybe this is all runs locally, right? Maybe there's no server involved at all. By the way, while we're talking about client server and computer terminology, if you're new to this kind of material and you're kind of starting to despair because you don't have a literate novel to read about any of this, here's one of those literate novels. It's called The Bug by Ellen Ullman. I was very educated by all this because she takes her time to give you a sense of the culture. She does good anthropology and doesn't avoid getting into some of the technical details. It's like when I used to read a lot of books about ships and Horatio Hornblower and all this. I'm not on a ship and I don't get to run up and down in the mainsail and go up to the crow's nest and like all this terminology. It can be overwhelming, and I totally get that. And I don't want to lose a lot of you because I sling a lot of geometry around. I mean, a lot of terminology, including geometry. I don't want to intimidate everyone to running away, but you see what's really hot right now is learning these rather thick JavaScript front-end design tools. And I'm saying focus on, if you like, polyhedra as a theme and get those volumes to line up with these here, and you'll have some unexplored territory that you can point back to with some pride down the road, and you can always do it in XYZ as well. It's still good stuff for the ages, right? We're always going to have polyhedrons, and to the extent that you can merge that in, kind of left brain and right brain, graphical and lexical, with the computer programming experience, to that extent, I think you're keeping the connection between sort of a mathematical way of thinking and art. This, by the way, gets my award for the scariest display yet in the neighborhood. My criteria are, I have to have seen it myself. I can't just be looking through millions of pictures coming at me, but walking by, wow, I did a double take on this one. So to summarize, you understand what I'm talking about? Take as inspiration my very humble and poor offering in JavaScript and CodePen.io, and use that as inspiration to do a more interactive, thicker, single-page application that maybe runs entirely client-side, but I'd like to run it myself. And then I'd like to include it in my YouTubes at some point. And next time I go out and look on Concentric Hierarchy, we just see a lot more, right? Now, I've been focusing on Blender, and I'm really, as you can tell, trying to get industry interested in this, like big animation houses. I don't want to limit the fun to individual hobbyists, but on the other hand, I want individual hobbyists to enjoy the fun. And you'll find quite a bit of this stuff already available at my websites. Come and check it out. It's free, open source. Let's have a party. All right? Talk to you soon.